Thanks for listening again to episode 119 of the Clive Barker podcast, The House Always Wins. In this episode, Max Lichter of the Pyramid Gallery joins Jose and me, Ryan, to talk about Clive Barker news, the results of the Duels of Blood Round 2 and the new matches in Round 3. Vote now over at www.duelsofblood.com. This episode is sponsored by Don Bertram's Celebrate Imagination, benefiting the Texas Children's Hospital. So if you haven't heard this before, this is a really neat project. Don Bertram's paintings that he sells in his store benefit the Arts and Medicine program at the Children's Cancer Center. So please join us in donating to the program at Texas Children's Cancer Center, and there's a link there that will take you where you need to go to get his prints or art books and help out this wonderful program. Any friend of Clive Barker's is a friend of ours, and we thank him for his support. Rob Ridenour was not available to join us for this episode, so I did want to go over really quick a few things that on the site to look out for. Rob did a review of the Sherlock Holmes, Paul Kane's new book, Sherlock Holmes and the Servants of Hell, so that's an advanced review because that book's not out yet. He also did a review of the booklet, or the book that's written by Phil and Sarah called Damnation Games, that comes in the Arrow box set of the Hellraiser, the Scarlet Box, the Hellraiser box set, that you can only get in the European region. So that's kind of a rare treat to hear more about that. We've got an audio commentary for the Yattering and Jack and Quicksilver Highway up on the site. There's a review, Jose's long-awaited review of Midian Unmade is there on the site as well. And Jose did a video review of the Clamshell edition of Imaginer 2, the new Clive Barker art book. So go check that out at www.clivebarkercast.com. One really quick thing I wanted to say, I want to thank Reg Bison, that's the username on iTunes, for this nice review that he gave us. He said, "This podcast is wonderful. I only recently started listening to podcasts, and I have listened to nearly all of these. The hosts are very entertaining and full of really good information. I will be sad when I have to wait for each episode." So thanks, that makes us feel really good hearing that. One more thing, I guess one more ado. We did have some technical issues with this episode. We recorded about 2/3 of the episode, we did about 2/3 of the episode, and as happens on just about every podcast I've ever listened to, everybody's had this happen at one time or another. Nobody's recording worked. So we had to go back all the way to the beginning and start over again. So if it feels like we're kind of rushing through part, or like this is a conversation that we had already, that's the reason. And maybe you'd notice it, maybe you wouldn't. That's the reason. Also, we were all getting up very early to make this recording too. So we, in addition to having technical difficulties, we're also a little bit out of it. For me, it was starting at 7 o'clock in the morning. Okay, here we go. No more ado. Episode 119. The House Always Wins. Okay, well, we're back. We had a little recording mix-up, so if it feels like we're retreading something that we already did, it's because that's what's happening. We went through over half of this episode already, and it wasn't recording.
Okay, that happens. We have today with us Max.
Hello, everyone.
From Pyramid Gallery, and of course, as usual, me and Ryan. So
hey.
We're going to start talking a little bit about news and then go into the Duels of Blood. So
yeah. So we have two anthologies that have rare Clive Barker short stories in them. The first of them is a book called Scales and Tales, and it's sort of a short-run book for charity that features stories with animals in them, and it has Clive Barker's short story Animal Life.
Mm-hmm. That's a cool story. It's not been printed in a lot of places that I can remember right now, but it's a very, very good story. I read it online a few years ago, back in the mid-90s, I would say. And it's very, very interesting. It's a story about a guy who survives an earthquake, and then the next day he goes back to his crumbling house and finds his dog can speak to him.
And was this ever released or ever published, in our printed form?
So the first appearance of this story, I think, was in the USA Today Weekend Supplement in June of 1994. So this story is 22 years old at this point.
Wow.
And then it appeared in The Voice of Dark Carnival Books, #1, October 94. And since then, it's been in other hardbacks, Dark Terrors too. But it's coming out again on U.S. paperback. It's on Scales and Tales by William Wool Books, USA 2016. So it's limited to 500 numbered copies, and it'll cost $20. So it's anticipated publication date is July 2016. So it's coming out soon.
Yeah, there we go. And
so I'm interested as collectors. Do you guys ever print out stories like that you find online and archive them for your personal collection?
Oh, yeah. I did that. I think the first story I did that with was Lost Souls.
Okay.
The story with Damore.
Yeah.
That was the first one that I remember printing out in the mid-'90s and saving it because back then I didn't really have any Clive Barker books that I could get in Portugal. So that was the only way I could to get that story. So
well, and in the mid-'90s, my computer was an Amiga, so my internet was all text-based.
Oh.
So I just looked at bookstores constantly for, anthologies that had these rare stories. But, okay, so the other one is a book called Gutted, and this is another short story collection that has Coming to Grief, which Coming to Grief is also a really good short story from I believe the mid-'90s also.
What's it about? Because I've never read that story myself.
So there's a woman who is her mother just died, and she's at her mother's house and going through all of her stuff, and she seems sort of dispassionate about the whole thing. But then there's sort of this monster outside that's haunting her when she's walking back and forth places, and this monster sort of trailing her footsteps. So it's sort of like a personification of grief.
Okay. All right.
How long are both of these stories? Are they short stories? I mean, how many pages would you say are each story?
I think Animal Life is the shorter of the two. Probably Coming to Grief is a typical, kind of like your typical Books of Blood story.
Okay.
Maybe Animal Life might be shorter, like 15, 20 pages.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So Crystal Lake Publishing is publishing Gutted, Gutted Beautiful Horror Stories, and you can pre-order it on their Amazon page for the Kindle-only edition, which will be released, was released June 24th. So it's available right now.
And go ahead.
Will you guys be able to supply links to any of these stories online currently?
Yeah, Animal Life for sure. Gutted, I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah, or Coming to Grief. Yeah, I think Coming to Grief is really only available in books.
Right.
Okay.
Dark Regions Press has a bundle where you can buy the Body Book and Midnight Meat Train for $90, and you get a $10 off coupon for a Clive Barker book that they haven't announced what it is yet.
That kind of takes fans a little bit on their faith by putting in a secret book in there, right? I mean,
yeah, but it's only a $10 off coupon, I suppose. But yeah, then at that point you'd feel kind of obligated to buy it, I suppose.
I guess it seems like a good deal because the Body Book by itself is $80. So
Yeah, not too bad. And the Midnight Meat Train is a great edition of that. We were all a little skeptical when they started that project because it's just one book out of the Books of Blood, or one story out of the Books of Blood, but it's really well put together. And
it's got a lot of stuff about the movie and stuff, the adaptation, the script, the pictures, the paintings. So you see the whole bundle of artwork that was created for that movie.
Okay. Were there any changes to the story itself?
A few. I mean, if you watch the movie, of course, there's some differences in the ending, and Mahogany is a different character than the original story, I would say, and
and the main character is different.
Yeah, he's a photographer in the movie, whereas I forget what he did in the original.
He was an accountant.
Right. Okay. Gotcha.
So let me get this clear. What about the City Fathers? Were there changes to the City Fathers from the book to the movie? Because I've never actually seen the movie, but I love the book, and I remember when the movie first came out, people were talking about that they had somewhat eliminated the City Fathers role somewhat.
They're there. I think that the studio didn't want them in there at all. They just wanted it to be about a slasher on a train. But the City Fathers are in the movie. They're kind of these. They're pretty faithful. I think you just catch glimpses of them.
Yeah. Right. I think they're well done. The only thing that they didn't include was the first American that appears at the end of the story.
Yeah, he's not.
That was not in the movie, so. It's kind of a weird ending. It's feels a little incomplete, but it was a pretty decent movie. I enjoyed it, so it's still good.
It's really stylistic and kind of brutal, in your face sort of a movie.
Well, it could have been expected after all the Saw movies and everything,
Sure, yeah. But I keep saying this. It's funny. One of the funniest things that I noticed was there's two different versions of the movie. According to the rating, and in one of them, Sam Raimi's brother loses one eye, and in the other, he loses two eyes in the scene where he's killed.
Yeah.
It's just, I guess they had to make a scene that's super gory and another one that's not so gory, but they're still both pretty gory. So I find it funny when people change movies for like TV versions or something, and they just take out like lines or replace lines, or a scene is too gory, so they had to cut it. It's like, why can't movies on TV just be the same as on the DVD?
Yeah, well, and in this case, it was the limited theatrical run. Just to get an R rating, they had to do that, and then when it went on to Blu-ray, I thought that theatrical cut was just going to disappear, but somebody corrected me online recently that some streaming versions you can get either one, the theatrical or which I've never even seen the theatrical version of that movie.
I don't think I've seen it either. Well, next up is that Imagineer 3 is almost ready to ship. And as you know, Imagineer 2 was still produced by Seraphin and Century Guild, but the number 3 will be the mantle falls onto Phil and Sarah from Revelations. So, Ryan, you have both the first and second book.
Yeah, they're great. I mean, and I haven't really spent a lot of time with book 2 because it only just arrived for me. But you did a video review of the Clamshell edition of book 2, right?
Yeah. We put it up on the BarkerCast YouTube channel, so we got a lot of hits on that one.
Yeah, so check that out, and we can put a link in the show notes there. So if you want to take a look at that.
Oh yes.
How much money do those cost as far as the Imagineer series?
If you get them, they used to be on Kickstarter. So number 1 and number 2 were like $120 for Kickstarter backers, and then I think they're like $150 if you bought them outside of Kickstarter.
Okay.
That's just from my memory though, and I can't remember what you can pre-order book 3 right now, and I can't remember what
I'm
the
looking
cost
is. I'm looking at the page at the CliveBarkerArchive.com website, and so here it is. The number 3 volume will be a pre-order of $110 for the regular edition, and then for the deluxe edition, which I'm guessing is kind of the Clamshell edition, that will cost $410. So that's the price difference between the two.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, these things are expensive. They're art books. Art books are always expensive.
Yeah. I haven't pre-ordered book 3 yet. I really need to get on that.
What's the size, the format of the size of these books?
Oh, it's pretty big.
Yeah.
They're pretty oversized, like art book, coffee table book, I would say.
Okay.
They're bigger than Images of Heaven or Visions of Heaven and Hell.
Yeah. and here it is. The regular edition is limited to 1,000 copies. It's a hardcover 10 by 13 inch.
Oh, okay.
And then the regular edition, the deluxe edition, I'm sorry, is 100 copies. So that's pretty limited. Yeah. There you go. I guess that's why it's $410.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to be honest, and I think really the only difference between this and the regular edition is, of course they'll be signed, but is the clamshell.
Yeah.
Because the book inside the clamshell is just the same.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, that's it for the news, but we can go right into the Duels of Blood. And
yes.
Of course, starting out in the Hellraiser bracket, there were some really surprising results here, especially this first one.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the Hell Priest Pinhead versus female Cenobite, and female Cenobite was steadily winning throughout most of this round, and she just pulled way ahead. She has 73% of the votes versus Pinhead is only 27%.
It's amazing.
It's very surprising. I talked to Ryan when we started this, and I was like, let's hope that Pinhead is not going to win like the whole Hellraiser bracket and then move on to kill, to win against all the other characters and be like that was a possibility, but I guess not anymore because female Cenobites, maybe due to Barbie Wilde's fans or because I think she shared the Duels of Blood at one point, or some fans have been asking her about it and telling her, hey, your female Cenobite is beating Pinhead, and I remember that she commented on one of our things. She was like, oh wow, so very surprising that Pinhead is out of the race.
Yeah.
Congratulations to Barbie and also Grace Kirby, who portrayed the female Cenobite.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and there were a lot of people that were kind of, discouraging, I guess, about this whole thing, saying, what's the point, because Pinhead is just going to win the whole tournament. So it's kind of a relief to see that he's not. And no offense to Doug Bradley, but I just think it would have been too obvious of a choice.
Well, I think I even messaged you that very idea. I was like, I'm pretty sure Pinhead's going to win the whole, not just all the brackets,
Yeah.
Because he's got so many fans. But, yeah, this was really surprising.
Yeah.
This is going to make for a very interesting round 3, now that some key players are out of the race in round 2.
Next up, we have Butterball versus Leviathan, and it wasn't even close. Butterball took it.
Yep. Congratulations, Simon.
Yeah. CD versus Angelique. So this one's kind of funny because on our last episode, I had put a sort of a silly graphic where CD was like, come on, guys, everybody likes music, right? Because I figured that he had no chance. I didn't think he would get any votes at all, but he actually beat Angelique.
It's ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. I didn't know there were so many fans of CD out there, but kudos to them, because you took Angelique out of the race, which is another character that I honestly preferred. Of course, it goes without saying, over CD. And I just, okay, well, good job, guys.
Okay, so...
It's like the Brexit referendum.
Right.
Very timely, yeah.
I guess the Angelique fans didn't think that she could lose.
Yeah, or possibly Donald Trump.
Yeah.
oh, please. No, it's not
So
going
there you
there.
go.
Yeah, we're not there yet. We still have hope.
I call for all CD fans to make him win the Hellraiser bracket.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck
It
with
wouldn't be
that.
funny if he takes everything, all the brackets.
Yeah.
Julia versus the Wire Twins. So in the previous round, the Wire Twins did pretty good against what was their opponent, Ryan? Do you remember? Anyway, so the Wire Twins did well in the first round, but on the second they lost terribly. They were crushed by Julia fans who voted 336 votes against Wire Twins' 8 votes. So I think she might be the less voted character in the whole Duels of Blood here.
She beat Bound.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, of course, Julia. I mean, who wouldn't vote for Julia? She's a great character and very intimidating character. So she moves on to the next round.
Yay! Harry D'Amour versus Christopher Carrion. This was a very close race, and there was no knowing who was going to win right up to the end, but it ended up being Christopher Carrion sort of edged him out with 56% of the votes.
I'm going to risk saying that I think all three of us would rather have seen Harry D'Amour win.
Yeah.
I mean, I really like Christopher Carrion, but Harry D'Amour is sort of a thread that goes through a lot of Clive Barker's narratives, and, I hate to see him leave the tournament so soon.
Yeah, a lot of major upsets during this round.
Yeah, I mean, with the Scarlet Gospels, I would have thought Pinhead and Harry would still be in the tournament.
Yeah, me too. But unfortunately, and Harry D'Amour, another key player on the Everville episode that we just recorded this week as well. So stay tuned for that coming out in a few more days. But yeah, Harry D'Amour, great character. Unfortunately, lost against Christopher Carrion. I think Abarat has an advantage because a lot of people are reading Abarat and they're very emotionally invested in the whole story. So Christopher Carrion moves on to round 3.
And we've got Mr. Hood versus the Jaff. So Mr. Hood, of course, the Thief of Always character in the Jaff from The Great and Secret Show. Mr. Hood beat the Jaff by quite a bit, 73% of the votes. Which, I was a little surprised. I thought, I couldn't have predicted who was going to win this one.
I was polling for the Jaff, so it's another major upset for me to see the Jaff disappear so quickly.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, the Jaff from The Great and Secret Show. The Great and Secret Show itself is, I think, in my opinion, along with Hellraiser and the Books of Blood, another gateway for fans to find out about Clive Barker stuff and start collecting it. Because I think The Great and Secret Show, the Books of the Art are a great piece of work in the Clive Barker's body of books that he has published. But The Thief of Always is also a very perfect little young adult fiction book. So I think, wasn't there a teacher in Kodiak that taught her class about The Thief of Always, Ryan?
It was Abarat.
Oh, it was Abarat. Okay. Yeah. But I know that there are some teachers who have incorporated Thief of Always into their classrooms. And so I imagine there's a generation of kids out there who grew up reading The Thief of Always. So I'm sure this character is...
That's true. I mean, all of us were adults when The Thief of Always came out, but that's probably not the case for a lot of the fan base.
Right. Mm-hmm. Think about all the children of fans who were introduced by their parents to The Thief of Always,
I've got a stack of Clive Barker kids books in Joey's room just waiting for him to be old enough so I can read them to him.
Right.
That's great.
So, when you've got sort of an evolved Nunciate bad guy character versus an animated vampire house, the vampire house wins.
The house always wins, Ryan.
That's right. Hey, that's good. That could be we could make a picture for that for the episode.
Yeah,
the house always wins.
Another Aberratian character that won was Jimothy Terry. He won against Yabu, which I think Yabu put up a good fight. Jimothy Terry won with 67% of the votes, and Yabu still got 115 votes. So it was nice to see the Jump Tribe universe be represented throughout two whole rounds.
Yeah. So they're gone now, but the Jump Tribe is probably one of the most obscure Clive Barker things there is. So it's amazing that they got this far.
Mm-hmm. How major of a character is the Yabu in the Jump Tribe? I've never read that.
He's the main character.
Oh, okay.
Kind of. I mean, every book features a different character. So Yabu jumped into a portal and then when he came back out, he had wings and magic powers, and he told all of his friends that he became one of the Jump Tribe and learned magic. But in their time, only like a few seconds went by, but he was gone for years.
Oh, so that's how there happens to be two different versions of the Yabu plushie, right? One of them has wings and the other one doesn't.
Yeah, the one without wings was sort of a Comic-Con prototype, but that one is, and doesn't even have felt on it, or it's not fuzzy. It's just kind of like a material, like a
polyester or something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But that one's the most common. The one without wings from Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con had that sells on eBay for like $10.
Would the Jump Tribe be considered a children's book, or is it?
Oh yeah, way more so than Avarat.
Okay. Yeah,
I think they're geared at probably more like Joey's age, like 4 or 5 year olds up to maybe 10. The one thing is they have a like a letter replacement code in the books. You know how like Lord of the Rings has those runes.
Mm-hmm.
So Clive Barker created an alternate alphabet so you can decode like secret messages in the books and stuff.
Oh, neat. That's really cool. I love that stuff. I was a big Tolkien fan, so I also did that with like some Ozzy Osbourne albums.
Oh yeah, right. One of them, I think. Which one is that? The one that has all the Black Sabbath covers on it. It says like Ozzy Osbourne, Rock and Roll Madman.
Oh yeah, the tribute to Randy Rhoads.
Is it that one? I think it's the one where he's sitting on the throne with the fangs and the grape jelly in his mouth.
Exactly. Speak of the Devil.
Speak of the Devil. Yeah, I think that one says Ozzy Osbourne, Rock and Roll Madman. I remember when I was a kid decoding that one.
Also, the inside sleeve for Diary of a Madman also has a language you can decode.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
that's cool. Why don't more recent albums do that?
Yeah, no. Well, it's all CDs now, or not even CDs. I'm dating myself, so everything's gone digital.
The only recent piece of entertainment that I've seen include a lot of clues and secret codes and stuff was that TV show from Disney Channel, Gravity Falls. That one, they actually, the fans actually go and take screenshots of the episodes, and then they find letters written in the background, and then they collect them together through the episode to get a clue. I was a little bit into Gravity Falls, so there's a lot of like secret messages inside the episodes for that one. And they have things that pay off, like things that are set up in the beginning of the season that pay off at the end of the season. And it's like then you go back and you see like, oh, now I understand why this happened in this episode. It was setting up for 10 episodes later this would. So Gravity Falls is also one of those shows that has a lot of clues and stuff, and websites and blogs dedicated to analyzing all the little clues that they can find.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. There was a comic book in the 70s called The Micronauts. And they had they gave out a Sanskrit code because all the signboards and graffiti were written in Sanskrit throughout the comic. And you could go back at like in the letter section, they would have like the actual key to all the letters, so you could go through the comic and decode all the signs. So
that's awesome. I had the Micronauts toys, but I didn't ever read the comics. I think I was too young.
I read the Marvel comics. I read the Marvel comics. I used to collect Marvel comics when I was a young kid, so I remember the Micronauts. I just didn't know anything about all those secret codes and stuff. I just read the stories as stories. Mm-hmm. So interesting. And now I have to go back to my comic books and find out about that. That's
such
interesting.
A great series. I really love that series a lot.
Yeah.
Well, the last one in the magical bracket, we have Pio Pa versus the Rake, and Pio Pa took it with just a little bit over the Rake. So is that our last Weave World character?
I think so. I think
so too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the angel has disappeared in the first round, right?
Yeah.
So this is the last Weave World character. I think Pio Pa, of course, coming from the Magica and being one of the main characters, has an advantage over the Rake. The Rake is pretty obscure, but he has the coolness factor going for it, especially with Hellraiser fans.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the character that ties Weave World to Hellraiser or the Hellbound Heart.
Yeah. He was attacked by the surgeons from beyond that did that to him. So interesting. So we enter the Nightbreed bracket where none of these matches were close, right?
yeah, exactly. They were all really really big differences between one and the other, and so Cabal versus Kinski, Cabal took it. Aaron Boone.
So sorry, Nicholas Vince. This is your second character that got bumped out from the Duels of Blood, but at least he lost against Aaron Boone.
Yeah. Shuna Sassy versus Decker. Now, this was a close race at the beginning, and then Decker overtook Shuna Sassy, and it just started to feel like there was no way that she could win.
Mm-hmm. But Decker as a villain and an enemy of the Nightbreed, the beautiful Nightbreed. It's interesting how a lot of people still like him or vote for him. But I guess it's the same sort of phenomenon where people, they like Jason or Freddy or
Mm-hmm.
So. Yeah,
well, and one thing that we learned with Occupy Midian is that Decker is for a lot of people, Decker is like the most important part of Nightbreed, which was surprising for me. I never felt that way, but.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I have to say that when I did vote for Decker because he's such a such a classic, like you said, a slasher kind of figure in the series. So it's
a lot of people collect masks and stuff that other fans have done over the years. So
yeah,
I think now there's actually a licensed mask, right, Ryan?
Oh yeah, right. I think was it a Halloween?
Yeah, I think it was one of those.
Yeah.
The same company that made the Narcisse mask and the Cabal mask and the
and the Berserker.
Yeah. So
I was really surprised to find out that Simon Sassy was the creator of the mask. I just found that out just this year.
Yeah. In our episode, he mentions that. So
and
check out our episode for Simon Sassy.
I think that was the first time any of us had heard that.
That's true.
Pretty interesting. Chocolat versus Ashbury. So it is not very surprising the character the character with a speaking part that's actually got a larger part. I mean, Chocolat is really, only appears for a second in Nightbreed.
Yeah. So, like you said, a speaking part really helps in winning these things.
Yeah.
Even though Ashbury, I think, wasn't a very good actor in the movie, but at least he was on screen longer than Chocolat.
Yeah.
I mostly just found out about her when I bought the Nightbreed Chronicles. That's when I actually saw a whole picture of her character. Because my VHS tape at the time was pretty dark, so I couldn't even see her in the scene.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
You said she has a role in the comic books as well?
Yes.
Yeah, they go through sort of narrating her backstory that was from the Nightbreed Chronicles.
Yeah, the one with the... Go ahead.
I was going to say, I need to reread that series. It's such a great series as far as the the Epic series.
Yeah.
Oh, this was the new Boom comics.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I don't know that she's in the Epic series. I can't remember. Maybe not.
She might be in the background on a couple of issues or something, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Epic series is coming out in 2 giant volumes, I think.
Right.
It's being reprinted, so, yeah.
Man, it'd be great if they finished the storyline, because doesn't it end unresolved somewhat, if I remember right?
Well, it's resolved, but I think Nicholas Vince had planned on having a lot more issues than what they actually gave him, so he made all of these newspaper articles that sort of explained what was going to happen in different issues. So he wrapped it up the best he could, only having one issue left to do it.
And then, of course, Boom Comics did a new series on it, and they kind of rebooted the whole thing. And unfortunately, I didn't think that the show ended on a couple of very good issues. They just kind of wrapped it up a little bit. But
but the Boom Comics were great right up until the last couple, and then they just, I don't know, they just sort of went off the rails, I guess, a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. But anyway, so the last match in the Nightbreed bracket is Narcisse versus Rachel.
Yeah.
And,
Narcisse was Rachel was winning, or was either winning or close at the beginning, but then Narcisse pulled way ahead, and then it was really no contest after that.
Yeah, we've had both of these actors in our podcast. We've had Catherine Chevalier and Hugh Ross. They were pretty fun to talk to. Good episodes. Go check them out.
And I think that Narcisse is probably the only funny character in Nightbreed, right? So that might have given him an edge.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
I mean,
he's such a classic character, too, as far as, he's... you had mentioned before that he's basically the face of Nightbreed in a lot of ways. Is one of the first characters we get, know from Midian,
Which is kind of ironic because in the book his face gets ripped off.
Yeah, it's the opposite. It's not his scalp that gets taken out, it's his face. But I guess for an actor it's very important to be able to emote on camera. So I guess they did the reverse thing where they let him keep his face, obviously.
Yeah. Next is the Bloody Bracket, and these were all really close except for the last one. And I think here we're back where we're caught up now. But yeah, Nix versus Tesla Bombeck. So this was very, very close right up to the end, but Tesla won.
Yeah. Kind of reminds me of the first match of the Pinhead versus Female Cenobite in the sense that Nix is kind of like a Pinhead character.
Of course, to a lesser degree because he only has one movie, but he has all the cool lines. I think we mentioned that last time. He gets all the cool lines in Lord of Illusions.
Yeah. I was born to murder the world.
Yeah.
That one's cool. And then that music kicks in, and it's so good. Tesla Bombeck won. She's also a big character in the Great and Secret show in Everville, which, again, we just recorded this week. So she's a very cool character, born in Philadelphia, grew up in Detroit, drives a bike, has superpowers. So, as usual, Clive Barker always writes these very empowered, very strong female characters, and I'm not surprised that she appeals to so many people.
Could you remind me of the role she played in the Great and Secret show?
She was a screenwriter to start with, and Nathan Grillo was trying to do a story on what was happening in Palomo Grove.
Uh-huh.
And I think it was about the death of that comedian guy that fell into the crevice.
Buddy Vance.
Yeah, Buddy Vance. So Grillo went over there to investigate. He called up Tesla for help. I can't remember why he needed her help, but he called her to come over and help out, and she kind of got drawn in, and she sort of took over as the main character, and Nathan Grillo sort of became a secondary.
Yeah.
So was Everville published before the Great and Secret show? What came first?
The Great and Secret show is first, so that's 1988 or 89.
All right.
And then Everville is like 94.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
5 years later, I think. And the action in the story also picks up 5 years later from the first book. So he kind of sets it on the present. Both books are kind of set on the present time. But yeah, in the second one, she has a much bigger role in Everville because now she has been changed from the events of the first book, and she has powers. And Nathan Grillo had this thing called the Reef, which was this bank of computers that snatched every single offbeat news that they came across. It's kind of like Clive Barker's fantasy technology thing that he creates, because Clive Barker used to admit that he was almost a technophobe in some ways.
Yeah.
That he was kind of a Luddite, and he didn't use computers that much. But so it's funny that in Everville, the Reef is this bank of computers with fax machines and other things attached to it, and they just gather up all this information about weird events that are going on in the world. And Tesla becomes kind of a custodian of that Reef thing as well, near the end of the book. But she's a very cool character, so I'm not surprised that she won this match.
No, yeah, and I think Nix fought hard, but in the end he fell down into the pit.
Yeah,
it was a close one though.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Speaking of close, Jacobok Botch versus Candyman, very, very close. It's only just a couple of votes difference between the two, and they sort of edged each other out over and over throughout the 2 weeks of this round.
Wow, yeah, even up to like midnight last night, I think Jacobot was winning when I last looked. So this is actually a surprise to me to see that Candyman actually won it.
Yeah, he pulled in ahead. I was surprised that Jacobot did so well. I mean, Candyman I guess it's just like Nyx, is a well-known movie villain. So I thought, I was surprised that Jacobot was winning, but now Candyman took it. 142 votes versus 137 votes for Jacobot.
I think Mr. Begone was also a book that kind of kickstarted a lot of people's entrance into Clive Barker's literary world. I mean, when it came out, because it was a small book, smallish book, and it got a lot of promotion. So I think for a lot of people, that might have been their first book from Clive Barker that they read.
It was also an interesting book because it was what Clive Barker wrote when he took a little hiatus from Aberrat, and it came out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't think
after a few years without any books, then this came out, Mr. Begone. So yeah, it picked up momentum for a lot of Clive Barker fans.
And I don't think he ever talked about it in an interview until after it was already published. So it was just sort of a surprise that dropped on the fans.
That's right, yeah. I recommend the audiobook because it's read by Doug Bradley.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, that's really cool. Harvey Swick versus the Yattering. So this one was also super close. 175 votes versus 166 votes. But in the end, Harvey Swick won. But the Yattering was ahead a lot of the time.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, again, it's a second Thief of Always character that makes it past this round.
Yeah.
Right, I'm surprised. I was kind of pulling for the Yattering, but
yeah.
Cool.
What are you muttering over there, Yat?
Are you saying you had sympathy for the devil?
Oh, and then so this is the one in this bracket that was not close at all, but except for in the very beginning. But Popolac, the city of Popolac versus Jacqueline S. I thought Jacqueline S. would win because she's really more of a character than Popolac is.
I think Popolac is a very striking character.
Yeah.
If I can call him a character in Clive Barker book.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, so I can see why this is so impressive that would push people into voting for it.
And I wonder if people were voting for the stories,
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
That too, yeah.
Well, this was the first story I encountered after being introduced to Clive Barker through Hellraiser. I think the comic version of the Books of Blood came out, and that story alone, it was so striking and so much, very much, very Barkerish in the sense that it was just so it's hard to explain, but just so. It just captured so much of his writing, so it really introduced me to the whole world of him outside of the movie Hellraiser itself.
I think that was one of the most mind-blowing short stories ever.
Yeah. To me, I think what Clive Barker does very effectively is he creates this fantasy where normal people do extraordinary things. And things that you wouldn't, believe that, and they don't happen in the real world, of course, but usually it's like some regular people, they just get put in a situation and then they just do something completely extraordinary. And this is what the city of Popolac did. It's just two villages in Europe, but then they like to strap themselves into two giant figures and duke it out. And
it's such if you even take recent events like what happened with the UK, it's the idea of people coming together and forming some sort of... Yeah. So it's I don't know. I really love that story.
Yeah. I see what you mean. It's fabulous. So the winners from each bracket and the winners from each match are going to fight the ones below them again, and so we're going to cut this in half again. So round 3 will be even less characters. So. I'm hoping that people won't lose the momentum of the voting spree and just keep on voting for round 3.
And as we're recording this right now, it's Saturday, and I'm hoping to have this up so voting is available on Sunday at the same time that we release this episode. But yeah, round 3, we're going to start out with the female Cenobite versus Butterball.
Wow.
So that'll be interesting to see. I mean, just seeing what happened, how she took out Pinhead. I'm kind of guessing that maybe female Cenobite's going to win there.
Probably. I wouldn't say the same would happen for CD versus Julia. I don't believe that CD is going to keep it up.
Come on, you guys, don't do this to us again.
But please don't.
Yeah, CD versus Julia.
It would be such a shame if we had to talk about CD winning on the next episode.
I know. And then in the magical bracket, we've got Christopher Carrion versus Mr. Hood. I don't think I can predict that one. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
That's going to be interesting.
And Jimothy Terry versus Pio Pa.
Oh, wow.
I think Pio Pa will take that one.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
And this is interesting that this matchup just happened to work out this way, but Cabal versus Decker.
Oh, cool.
Oh wow. Yeah. I'm looking forward to the results of that one. I'm not even making a prediction. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. One last dance.
Yeah. Death everywhere and you and me in the middle.
Yeah.
So it's going to be Ashbury versus Narcisse.
I think that Narcisse is going to win that one.
Yeah, I think so too. In the bloody bracket, we'll have Tesla Bombeck versus Jack Candyman.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe she'll find out that Tesla had an ancestor that an ancestor that was connected to Daniel Robitaille.
Yeah.
That's the thing they did. And Harvey Swick will be facing up against Popolak.
Yeah.
But, total mix-up here. It's like, wow, a kid character from Thief of Always against the city of Popolak. I have no idea.
Yeah, that's kind of what's fun about this tournament is, some stuff like that can happen that you don't predict.
Yeah, and so keep sending us. If you're a creative person, please make campaign posters for your favorite character, or just fan art from any of these characters and send them to us. Because I think, Ryan, you set up a little contest there.
Yeah, that's right. Joey just came in, so he just woke up, so I was just saying hi to him. But do you want to say hi to everybody, Joey?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
What's your name? What's your name?
Oh, it's Jose and Max.
Oh.
Do you want to say hi to them? Okay. Well, that's okay.
Hi, Joey.
They said hi. So yeah, we had a fan contest. There weren't really very many entries, and I guess this kind of happens sometimes when you have art contests. I sympathize because I never enter these things either. But we have one that's sort of an augmentation or an adaptation of the comic book art, where Pinhead has his hand covering up his face, and the pins are poked through his hand. And he wrote, he put on the side, "No tears, please. It's a waste of good suffering." And actually, the same artist also did Big Daddy Roth inspired Pinhead.
Yeah, that's a cool looking thing. You can find the artwork that's been sent to us at the bottom of the page at duelsofblood.com.
Yeah, so the winner is the comic, the comic art that was sort of.
There you go.
Yeah.
The Big Daddy Roth inspired Hell Priest.
The other one.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi, Bosco. Everybody's in here now.
The cat.
Yeah.
Okay. My cat was knocking on the door trying to come in. He was just trying to put his paw under the door, and he kept pushing the door. It goes like jum 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 jum. But I kind of told him to go away, and I think he's snuggling up with Sarah right now. So
Jennifer's doing a CrossFit competition today, so she's already left. And Joey woke up and everybody was gone. So I had to tell him. I told him he gets free time on the 3DS until I finish recording.
There you go.
All right, and the second feature of our episode here with Max is going to be discussing another Hellraiser treatment. So this is Hellraiser treatments that failed to become the Hellraiser remake, I guess.
Yeah.
And this one it was a pitch by Pete Goldfinger and Josh Stolberg. So it's dated November 5th, 2009. So yeah, I mean, we all read this treatment, and again, this is fantastic. This is like treatments that people were paid to write.
Oh my God, I know.
And they were paid like handsomely to write these things. I don't know the exact amount, but I'm sure that I've heard that the other treatment, the previous one that we discussed, I heard that it was like in the five-figure range.
Oh. No way.
Yeah. So
we're all in the wrong business, I think.
Yeah.
I know. And we're talking about Stolberg and Goldfinger. Lionsgate tapped this writing duo to write the upcoming Saw Legacy, which is going to be the 8th movie in the Saw series.
Well, I've never seen a Saw movie, but I'm especially not going to watch that.
Oh, okay. I've seen like the first 4 Saw movies, and that was it. And so in other credits for these guys, they have Piranha, Sorority Row, other movies like that. And so they were tapped at one point by the Weinsteins to write a Hellraiser remake, and their pitch is, I just didn't think it was that good at all.
This is god awful.
It is pretty awful. Yeah, it is pretty awful.
Well, the beginning was interesting. I think with the van, I wasn't too opposed to the start. I mean, it almost seemed like an action movie though, and with the bullet time.
Well, yeah, and I couldn't imagine them pulling off that thing with the chains going through the van and pulling him through the van.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it just seems like when you try to look at that in a movie that it would be stupid.
Yeah. So just a little context here is that I'm going to briefly mention the opening of the script. It's like a guy's running away from the cops in a van, and we see that the Hellraiser cube is in the back seat, and he's desperately trying to drive somewhere, and he stops the car. He's caught by the police, and then the police are like, don't move, get out of the car, and he's like, yes, please just kill me before they take me. Kill me now. And the cops shoot him, and he's holding a gun. So the cops shoot at him, but then there's this bullet time, like Max said. And the box is like, no, you don't. And a little chain comes out in real slow motion bullet time, and it yanks him into the car just before the bullets kill him.
It hooks onto his spine, right, and pulls it through the side panel of the van.
And so for all intents and purposes, it looks like he's just pushed back into the van by the bullets, but no, it's the box gets him first. So he doesn't die before he gets claimed by hell, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And then he gets torn apart inside the car. And this is all seen live by his niece, Annie, who was following the news. And then she sees this, what happens to her favorite uncle, and then 13 years later, and for some reason, because she has to be a kid when she sees this, and then she grows up to become someone who wants to be a law professor or
grad students. What is the deal with grad students in these?
They're teacher fodder, really.
Of course, the whole time I'm at the beginning of the opening where they're showing the the news segment. I'm thinking of the O.J. Simpson chase, on the highway.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, except that one was a slow moving car chase. So 13 years later, this girl Annie, she's a teacher assistant, and she's still trying to prove that her uncle didn't kill all those people, because they tell us that the uncle was escaping from a house that had all these victims in it, and of course they hint that it might have been opening the box might have caused all this carnage. And this turns into a little bit like that Vincent Price movie where people have to spend the night in a haunted house, and
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So now they have a chance to go back to the house where her uncle used to live, and her uncle was a video game designer and a video game collector as well. And for some reason, they need to tell the audience that he is a creepy game collector, and he has to have all these puzzles and secret passages in his house, locks to doors that are puzzles and stuff like that. It's like, that's just overkill.
It's patronizing and stupid, right? I mean, he's like, they're like saying, yeah, he's obviously the ultimate gamer, because you can tell by what his house has all these secret passages, and it's like, that doesn't mean gamer.
Yeah, like if he had like one of those fancy chairs, in front of like a big screen TV, that would make him a gamer.
Yeah.
So anyway, they gather up 6 first-year grad students, and of course they have to be like first-year grad students because they're going to have a reckless behavior, and everybody's going to go to that house, and they're going to look for proof to make sure that Uncle Nick wasn't to blame for what happened.
Did that remind you guys of Hell World also a little bit?
Oh,
a little bit.
Hellraisers know how to party.
Yeah. And again, just like the first movie, the action is going to take place inside a house with the Cenobites.
Yeah. And that's where the similarity ends.
Mm-hmm. But so we're told in broad terms that Uncle Nick had the box, and he was so successful at being a game designer because he struck a Faustian deal with the box. And they changed the rules of the box. They changed Pinhead. They changed the rules of how it works. So it's like if you open the box and you fail, then it takes your soul.
But not immediately.
Yeah,
it's like sometime through the course of the movie, it's going to get you.
Yeah, I think they wanted to steer away from the original franchise in the sense that every time someone opens a box, okay, someone's going to have a gory kill.
Yeah.
And so they were like, okay, well, you lose your soul if you fail to open the box, but it's not going to happen right away. So they get to set up these things better.
And there was a note that I wrote it down here. There was a note where they talked about the kills that just made me crazy.
Yeah.
I thought I had copied it in here, but now I'm not finding it.
Well, they're always saying things like, we're going to do something really new with the series, and we're going to...
Yeah. And they had said, like, we want to do kills like The Usual Suspect and kills like what's in The Sixth Sense. And I'm like, Sixth Sense didn't have any... It's not a horror movie. It didn't have kills in it.
Yeah, that had to
not
scratch my head, too. Yeah.
Yeah, not on screen, really.
Yeah. Right.
But I mean, for Lust, the kill in 7 for Lust is pretty graphic, even though it doesn't happen on screen. But it's like the guy had that knife thing that he strapped around his body. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, here's what it was. They said, while we still like our idea of doing a fun Sixth Sense Usual Suspect set of kills, we plan to make them more psychologically disturbing than broad and gimmicky.
Hmm.
But all I see described is gimmicky.
Broad and gimmicky, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of these characters are very two-dimensional. Like I said, the six first-year grad students are really just there to get bumped off.
Yeah.
And some of them are even described as being like typical frat boy, Jen is the trust fund girl, Betsy is the crime scene expert. I wonder if she was going to say Jinkies. I found a clue.
Oh, God, I know. Well,
and there's one guy who has your name, Ryan. Ryan was going to be the photographer, videographer. I'm guessing they were going to introduce like found footage thing into the movie. Like there would be like shaky cam, like Ryan's holding the camera. Come on, guys, open the box.
Yeah. Well, and they made this Nightmare on Elm Street-esque where, elements of these people's personalities is what ends up, they end up getting killed somehow because of some aspect of their personality or their fears. Just like the last treatment we read also.
Yeah. Well, it's like the way they describe how they want Pinhead to act in the movie is they want him to be more like Freddy Krueger. It's like, that's exactly what, the downfall of the whole series was, I think, from 3 onward, is the fact they want to make him the central character and the Freddy, with the lines and everything. So
yeah.
And Max, of course, being from the Pyramid Gallery and making boxes, I mean, you know how beautiful the box is, and how iconic it is to the whole series.
Mm-hmm.
They wrote this treatment, and whenever they mention the box, they just call it the cube or the Hellraiser cube. So at any point in this treatment, nobody calls it the Lament configuration or the box. They call it just a cube, the Hellraiser cube. And it seems like something that someone who's marginally aware of the franchise would call the box.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, and their explanation of its origin is ridiculous. They say that it was made by Satan out of the nails that spiked Christ.
I like the idea of the nails being in there, but at the same time, I just don't know. The whole made by Satan thing just kind of throws me off.
No, it's just ridiculous. I don't know. It's like you said. It's like somebody who barely watched the movies at all, and they got handed the chance to write a script for Hellraiser. I don't even know if they even watched any of the movies, and if they did, they could care less about any of the deeper mythologies behind it.
And the main character, her younger brother, is this sort of partying, like, I don't know.
Typical frat boy, I think.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, typical frat boy. And there's a scene at the end where they're fist fighting the Cenobites. Like him and her, sort of boyfriend guy are fist fighting the Cenobites. And you had mentioned Scooby Doo, and I put a note on there. It's like, would you fight the Cenobites for a Scooby snack?
Oh, yeah. Oh boy. But there's also this idea, and I think I've seen this emerge before in the old Marvel Epic comics, but I think there's a special. Do you guys remember a story where the Harrowers, I think, were trying to destroy Puzzle Guardians, and there's one issue where this guy tries to kill himself before he's claimed by Hell, but then he can't die because he's already been claimed by Hell. So as soon as you open the box and the Cenobites came to claim you, even if you tried killing yourself, you wouldn't be able to die. And they kind of do that here with this. It's like, if I open the box, I try to open the box, but I fail, they take my soul. But if I kill myself, then they won't take my soul. And I'm like, how does that even work? If you kill yourself, wouldn't you still go to hell?
Yeah, right. Because Pinhead still kills them. They still get ripped into pieces when they die. So
there's
what
even
does it
a character
matter?
here. Yeah, there's even a character here that tries to escape Pinhead taking his soul by hanging himself with a telephone cord. And it's just so weird.
Yeah. I quoted that part in here because it was written so horribly. It says, "Crash. A chair comes through the window on the porch. Tim calls in, 'You won't get this, soul.' And Pinhead looks on as Tim hangs himself with the extension cord."
That's your last words going out. You won't get this, soul.
Yeah. It's like, I'm sure they would rewrite this and film it in a different way, but it's like, I have no idea how they would make this look anything other than ridiculous and comedic. So it's, again, these treatments that we've been given, it's very disheartening to read some of them because you feel like, is this what Hollywood can come up with for a Hellraiser remake?
And it's disturbing that this is how Hollywood sees Hellraiser.
Yeah, like something that you can just throw in a bunch of tropes into this and, mix it up and you got a movie and, they'll watch it because, we got stereotypes here and,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I can't believe that people got paid for these things.
No, it's
ridiculous.
Yeah.
I know. But hey, these guys are writing Saw Legacy, so I'm sure that's, what in Hollywood now is referred to as an IP, an intellectual property.
Right.
And as long as you have the IP, you get the right writers for it, and you make yourself a movie and get a return on your investment. But that's what the horror movies have turned into. It's just an investment for a bunch of producers.
Yeah,
it's sad, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there's a twist at the end. I don't know if we should get into it, but there's a twist at the end that makes zero sense to me. It's like when Annie finds Pinhead finally at the end of the movie, Pinhead turns out to be, I'm going to say it, turns out to be her dead uncle. So it's like, how does that even work? So Pinhead was her uncle, and now he's like the guy who takes souls for the box. And I don't know, it just diminishes the character of Pinhead in my view.
Oh, yeah.
This whole twist thing.
And then they describe Pinhead has undulating pins, so whenever you see him, the pinheads are like sliding up and down like a carousel ride.
I don't know how they would have made that work. And I don't know, again, how that would have...
I don't want to know. I don't want to see that.
I know.
I hate the place where he's like, where they're talking about fighting the Tim and Jeff characters, and it's like, without the box, they don't have access to the chains and supernatural gadgets, but that doesn't mean they aren't still badass.
Yeah. We cut back and forth from Annie trying to solve the puzzle to Tim and Jeff getting the shit kicked out of them by the Cenobites while trying to buy Annie more time.
I know. I can't believe they wrote that. I thought that this would have been a more professional treatment, but it just reads like fan fiction, like someone.
Yeah.
Bad fan fiction.
Yeah.
To boot.
Yeah, I mean, really, really bad fan fiction, because these are guys that got paid to do something that they had no interest in. I mean, honestly, it seems to me that they're not fans of Hellraiser.
I know.
Well, look at this line. It says, "Go ahead, kill me. No cube means no soul for you."
Silly Pinhead. Souls are for the box. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think, for example, the character of Ryan, they were saying, for instance, we are not only paying off Ryan's death with his predilection for videotape, but at one point in the character introductions, he'll comment that prison is the best thing to happen to most of these criminals they put away. 3 meals a day and they're off the street and safe from harm. Unfortunately, a jail cell wasn't safe for Ryan because he dies, and the way he dies and the way they describe it is just ridiculous because he gets brutally killed while under police protection in jail. Kind of reminds me of that guy in the first Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
He gets killed by the sheet that Freddy hangs him with. And then it says here, the next morning, Ryan's discovered a pile of broken bones and a puddle of skin outside his cell. And then they will look at the security tape, and, of course, we see Pinhead in the flashback, but the tape won't show him. And it just says that he'll be forcibly pulled by the chains between the bars of the cell. Brains ooze through a cracked skull as the head is squeezed through, and blah, 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 blah. And then it says at the end, but the security video of this death makes it look like a bizarre and excruciating, painful suicide. I mean,
yeah, an impossible suicide.
Are you kidding me? Suicide? Who the hell would think that was a suicide?
Well, this is the way they can film 2 death scenes, because the entire movie would be nothing but all these gory death scenes over and over with each character. So this way they get 2 death scenes out of this one character.
Yeah,
they get Pinhead killing him, dragging him through the jail, the cell bars, and then they can film a suicide of him pushing himself through the bars. I guess I have no idea.
Which that is the dumbest, probably one of the dumbest things I've heard.
Yeah, and then in the notes that they write, the writer's notes in this treatment, at one point he says, the kills can't be pure S&M body shreddings like the original. And I'm like, well, you're pretty much doing it for all these people.
Yeah.
Right.
It opens up with one. There's a bunch of these throughout, so, they were all S&M body shreddings to me. But whatever.
So do you guys know how far this got with Clive and the production as far as the Weinsteins, I guess? I mean, how far did this go?
I don't know, because what the Weinsteins discuss is never really like Clive Barker will talk about every single thing that happens when he's being approached for a movie. He'll be the first one to toot the horn and be like, hey, I just got visited by Harvey Weinstein and stuff. But for the Weinsteins, I guess we only found out things that were given to other websites like Bloody Disgusting and other horror websites like that. And usually what we get is, they tapped these writers to write this and they wrote a treatment. So as far as this treatment is concerned, that's the only information that we got, was that they were tapped to write a treatment and they wrote one for the Weinsteins. So, and now we have the treatment, and that's the only information we have apart from reading it.
Now, did you ever get the treatments from the French directors, or I can't remember the names right offhand?
Patrick Lussier or
Yeah.
I'll have to check that. I think we didn't, but I think there was an interview where they kind of mentioned how their failed treatment was going to be like.
Mm.
So yeah, I'll try to find
was that Project Angel?
No, Project Angel was just something that Gary Tunnicliffe's company came up with their pitch for a new makeup for Pinhead.
Oh, okay.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, that was all happening at the same time, though.
Right.
Yeah.
He was just throwing his credentials in the field because Gary Tunnicliffe wanted to be connected to any Hellraiser movies.
Yeah.
So he was just trying to. But yeah, as far as those two French guys that made that movie Inside, I don't think we have that treatment here. I don't think we have that. But I'll have to give it a look.
I remember one time I read a review of a band called Upside Down Cross, and they said in their review they said, "Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Go directly to hell." And that's kind of how I feel about this treatment.
That's a good one. That's a good one. So yeah, so this was the treatment. Was this titled? I don't think this was titled.
No.
It's just 2009.
Yeah, probably the title. It seems like they were trying to make it a remake with this origin of Pinhead. So, what's scary is probably the title would have just been Hellraiser.
Oh. Yeah. It would have been known as Hellraiser 2009.
Yeah.
Just like other movies who have started to have to put a number of a year in front of them to distinguish them from their remakes. Honestly, it's like I don't think I hope that Clive Barker's involved in the remake at some point or a sequel or whatever. I would like to see Hellraiser return to the screen. I just think personally that Hellraiser is pretty saturated right now, especially with the new sequel that's going to probably be bad coming out soon. And I just think that remakes and reboots never did anything for horror franchises.
No.
That look at Nightmare on Elm Street, the remake. It didn't have any sequels. It just came out as a one-shot. People made fun of like the makeup and whatever, and they were, Jackie Earle Haley looks like a wet cat, and stuff like that. But there were no more sequels after that. Friday the 13th. I think they're trying to come up with a sequel now, but how many years has it been since a remake? And really, it didn't add anything new to the franchise.
No.
I saw the Friday the 13th. Or no, I saw the Nightmare on Elm Street one, and it's really forgettable.
Yeah. And so plenty of other things like Halloween. Halloween 1 and 2, okay, sure, they had a second one, but there wasn't anything else done after that, and there's no plans for a Halloween movie in the horizon that I know of. So I don't know. It's for me, these remakes end up being more about the cash grab than actually restarting a franchise.
Yeah, it's like they're saying, "Well, we own this. How can we possibly make more money on it?"
Yeah.
I think the greatest remake of all time has to be John Carpenter's The Thing. I think that's probably one of my favorite remakes of it's just like I don't want to say it's even a remake. I mean, it just kind of goes beyond. It kind of takes the movie. He took the movie for himself, and
it's neat when when a remake is of an old movie that people people had kind of forgotten about, or
Right.
Because, I don't think probably none of us saw the black and white The Thing until after seeing the John Carpenter one, right?
True.
I think that's true. Yeah, that's accurate. I became very interested in The Thing over the years. I think my father told me he saw The Thing before I did. He saw The Thing while he was working in Canada, and he told me about this movie that he saw once. I think my dad wasn't much of a horror fan at all. I think that might have been one of the few horror movies that he ever saw. But I remember him telling me about the story about the dog and the dog transforming and all that stuff. And I was like, whoa, that sounds like really creepy. But I was still too young to watch the movie. And then I saw the movie. It blew my mind. And after that, it's like I saw the original one. And I've been collecting different versions of all those movies. Like there's a colorized version of The Thing from Another World.
Oh, wow.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's a colorized version. It's pretty funny. And I got a TV version of the Thing by Carpenter, and the TV version has a few like different little things here and there. I can't really say what it is, but I remember that there were cut scenes and there were other different lines in the movie. So yeah, I've collected all that through the years. It's I actually was looking forward to that 2011 sequel that they did. And I still like it. I mean, I know a lot of people think that it got spoiled by the CGI that they used. And it's true that originally they did it with practical effects, but then in post-production, the producers wanted to replace some of the practical effects with, CGI. And that kind of inspired ADI Productions to come up with their Kickstarter for that movie with Lance Henriksen, Harbinger Down.
Right.
that I actually was part of the Kickstarter and I contributed to it, so I got a copy of it. I got like a signed picture of the monster, and that was fun. I really like that. But yeah, that was probably one of the best remakes that you could bring up, and that and The Fly, the
Oh
Cronenberg.
Yeah. That's a good, excellent.
I really like the Night of the Living Dead remake. I mean, I know it had problems, during production, I guess, but the 1990 Tom Savini version.
Before we move on, Rob Ridenauer had sent us his thoughts on this Hellraiser treatment as well.
The short answer, if this is good or not, is no. It is just as bad as the other one we talked about on the podcast. I don't understand these writers and how they can say they're fans and they come up with these stories that are totally opposite of what Hellraiser represents and what it is. I was deeply troubled by a lot of the stuff in this treatment, but we'll get into that later. But I'm sure the guys, Jose, Ryan, and Max have talked about the story, gotten into the details of it. Peter Goldfinger and Josh Stolberg, they have written numerous films. The one I've seen, which is Piranha 3D, which was entertaining, and I like that a lot. I own it, but I don't think these are not the right guys to write a Hellraiser remake. And I mean, their story, it just feels like another kind of direct-to-video, kind of safe, let's make it cheap film. It doesn't, stay true to any of the established mythology, which I don't think probably they were given that order. I don't think Dimension filmed in actuality. One of the notes I made towards the end of my reading of it kind of proved that they don't want to go with these concepts of the kind of like S&M type of themes that are pretty strong in Hellraiser. Here it is as the section where they put in, throughout their treatment, they put in like little notes, I guess, to the executives, and here it says, one of them, "We've taken your note to heart about trying to make the kills more psychologically terrifying while at the same time trying to keep them fun. The kills can't be pure S&M shreddings like the original. And my question is why? I just think that goes to show how Dimension Film hates the original themes. Or at least doesn't, want to go there or touch them." And that same little note that the writers put, something was weird. They also put, "While we still like our idea of doing a fun Sixth Sense / Usual Suspect set of kills, we plan to make them much more psychologically disturbing than broad and gimmicky." Sure. Yeah. Okay. That was just, it just, to me, it just sounds like good talk. I'm sure if this actually was made, it would just, be horrible. I didn't think there was one good idea in this treatment. It just was not, something I would have cared to see as a fan. The opening of it, I mean, there's this opening that really just feels nothing like, the start of a Hellraiser movie with this crazy car chase and this guy having like a showdown with these cops, and he gets torn apart by the box. And I mean, I'm sorry if I seem vague in my descriptions, but that's pretty much how it's described in the. I mean, they don't know much about the mythology of the box. Like I said, they're just suddenly a hooks. This guy's being surrounded in a van with by cops, and suddenly he wants them to shoot him because he's babbling on about they can't have me if you kill me now, kill me now, kill me now. The funny part is that Ryan was bringing up in our Revelations commentary how I thought of this his joke about how Pinhead and the other Cenobites can hear people talking outside of the box. There's a part in the treatment where the box is while this guy's running away from the cops, it's bouncing around in the back of the empty van. I can just see the box just going around, impeding him, going, whoa, 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 put on the brakes, buddy. I don't know. Just a little joke, I guess. But anyway, that was the opening of the movie. And it just gets worse from there. You get some 13 years later where the character is wanting to be a lawyer. What the hell does this have to do with Hellraiser? Just again, stupid shit like that. Nobody cares about this. It's just a way for the filmmakers to have, bring in that wide audience. Which I think they can bring in a wide audience with characters like Kirsty, that still can reach, these kind of, prima donna characters just don't do it for me. These typical this is like slasher fodder, which brings me to Pinhead, who is basically Freddy Krueger in this. And when you find out the revelation of who he is in this, it just pisses you off. It's just, and I wouldn't see Doug Bradley doing this movie. Not at all. I could see him, I just can't, as I read this, I can't picture Doug playing this part. One of the nice things about this new crop of characters, victims, is that they're all very special. No, they're not. They read like stupid character in Friday 13th. Pretty much, I took them as. They're geniuses. If they're such geniuses, why didn't the main character go, search the house? Where it all began. That would have been the best place to start. But no, she doesn't. I mean, it's the characters and the writers don't even care about the characters. Really, they make little side jokes about how they're stupid. I mean, they don't directly say that, but there's just little, reading between the lines kinds of stuff. And there's another part on the shares that they talk about, again, one of the little notes. As we've discussed, we're changing the rules from the original. We want to avoid the franchise. We want to avoid the way the franchise is tied to the box so that it becomes predictable. It's hard to build suspense and play up surprises when you have to show a scene with the cube before each death. In this version, where they are all unsuccessfully try to solve the cube together, and they put this in quotation marks, peer pressure kicking in, we'll be able to better surprise the audience with kills later. They won't know who is next, and the film can avoid feeling episodic. And I mean, the treatment feels episodic, man. I mean, you've already failed. Ugh. But of course, these guys are fans. They love Hellraiser. Yeah. And then at the end of the Act 1, they give another description of how they want Pinhead to play a more important role. It's like, as we've said, we like Pinhead to play a more active role in our film as he comes personally to collect the souls. We feel that one of the important things to do with the updated version is to allow Pinhead to step forward as our main villain. Like Freddy, he needs to be placed more in front and center instead of being a territorial character that simply watches the action. He needs to be responsible for the kills. This is the guy on the poster. Let's not make him take a backseat to the action. In the new take, we've created an origin story. Parentheses, as you'll see later in the pitch. The box is a gateway. It's a gateway to hell, and Pinhead's the. So, I mean, that's just. I mean, it's not about soul collecting. First off, the box is not even about that. It's about pain and pleasure, individual, the experience, and you know. I mean, have they even watched any of the movies? Pinhead has done a lot of killing. He's not always, other than the first. Well, the first two, and I guess some of the direct-to-video sequels, he wasn't really just directly involved with the deaths, but Pinhead's done a lot of killings in the other movies. I don't understand what they were trying to make here. Oh, and also they try to build up this suspense scene of who there's like this unknown man they find out in their investigations as they're trying to look into, you know, this case of trying to exonerate this uncle that was being chased at the beginning of it, and you know, these students were trying to find these new different leads that could maybe exonerate him and clear his name, and then they found these hints. It leads to the unknown man, you know, that, you know, Q Pinhead. I mean, I knew that was the unknown man. I definitely knew that's who that was going to be when I read that. And they talk about how, whereas most horror films, artificial reasons are created for the victims not to call the police, i.e. their cell phones doesn't work, they don't want to get into trouble, etc. Our character will actually reach out for help. In fact, one of our law students, a guy named Ryan, gets brutally killed while under a police protection in jail. Wow. Just wow. That's about all I have to say about this. I mean, it's bad. I mean, the good thing is that it wasn't made, and that there's, you know, it's just terrible. It's just bad. So I can't wait till the next bad treatment we review. So, all right. Thanks, guys, for listening. Take care.
Yeah, but you know, we have more treatments to go through, and I guess we can still add those to the remaining episodes of the Duels of Blood rounds with Max.
Yeah.
Here, so. Because you know, you're always a great guy to have on the show to talk about Hellraiser stuff.
Wow, thanks.
Okay, it's just a reminder that the Pyramid Gallery is going to be the next event that you're going to be is going to be the Louisville, Kentucky Days of the Dead, which is going to have that Hellraiser reunion. So you guys keep make sure you get your tickets for that and attend, because it's probably going to be another one of those chances to load up on those autographs from the Cenobites.
Yeah, I think that's around the Labor Day weekend, I think, coming up in September.
Okay. All right. Well, you know, thanks for joining us again for this, Max. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I mean, it's fun. That's really interesting results for the Duels of Blood this time.
Yeah. And I'll be trying to work on that here this weekend to get round 3 started.
All right, and I got to finish reading the Tale of the Reticulated Box, and I'll be sure to share more stories from the Pyramid Gallery on our blog page, so that people can go and find out more about all this amazing research that's available at the Pyramid Gallery website.
Well, excellent. Thank you so much.
You can find the show notes for this page and lots of Clive Barker's news and features at www.clivebarkercast.com. Please follow us on Twitter @BarkerCast or @OccupyMidian. Like us on Facebook and join the Occupy Midian Facebook group. You can listen on the site or subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Libsyn, TuneIn, Pocket Casts, Google Play, and Double Twist. Subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Please take a couple of minutes and leave us a review on iTunes. It means the world to us and helps us spread the word about Clive Barker. The Clive Barker Podcast, or BarkerCast, is an independent editorial fan site and podcast that's not affiliated with or under contract by Clive Barker or Seraphim Films. This is a labor of love by the fans, for the fans.
Thanks for listening.